Very good afternoon to everyone. Once again, we want to thank Benjamin and the team for having us here today to be able to share, as a trade association, how are we empowering companies within our industry towards the green transition. And it seems that rebranding is in, so we have also just rebranded. So for those of us who met us earlier, like Yulin and Cynthia, we were previously known as Textile and Fashion Federation, and just as of last Wednesday, we've been rebranded as Singapore Fashion Council. Okay. So here's the interesting thing about the fashion industry. Now, not every one of us, may know that if you look at the right-hand side, this is just the top 13 top 13 fashion companies in the world, and they, at least about half of them are in Singapore, okay, with their regional HQ in Singapore. And out of the top 80 fashion companies, they aggregate to a market cap of $1 trillion US dollars. So this is a sizable industry. As what we say to all companies, to all countries, in fact, to all our neighbors as well, that everyone, as a consumer, we have the empowerment, the choice of empowerment with the clothes that we choose to buy, to wear. And as a company, that is also an area that we can, even if you're not in the fashion business, you can still, through your employee engagement, to get the employees to learn about sustainability through fashion. Now, on the left-hand side is actually the global emissions picture. Now, what is interesting here is that I'm sure many of us have read that fashion industry is one of the largest polluter in the world. It's about 10% of the global GHG emissions. Now, you will see that most of that is upstream. Now, the fashion industry, despite all the recycling efforts and all that, it is still slated to grow at about 5% CAGR per year. Now, what this means that, especially for those in the financial community, if you are assessing the risk of your portfolio, you will know that despite having the SBTi targets and all that for the companies, there will be an uphill task for them to maintain even the same set of sustainability targets with that growth. Okay, and also I think going back to the right-hand side, if you see across the brands, you will see that it is a mini picture of United Nations. You have US companies, you have European companies, you have Asian companies. So when you look at sustainability in the space of fashion, you're really looking across different regulations that are coming into play, and that's what makes, I guess, our world interesting. And I would say also to acknowledge Cynthia from PwC Singapore. She and the team are really integral to a sector report that we commissioned PwC Singapore to do in July this year. It was published and unveiled in July this year, that gave us a view of some of the levers of change that we can use and leverage to help drive some of these industry level initiatives. Now, then across the value chain, you will see here, it's a complicated value chain from raw materials to material processing to, dyeing your clothes and to assembling it and then to distributing it, likewise to retailing it, and finally to post-consumption. Now, easily a piece of clothes, even you talk about simple t-shirt, right? It will at least have gone through 5 factories to come to you. Okay, it is how, and that's really just a simple piece without any accessories like buttons and zips and all that, okay, and threads and all that to go into sewing a piece of garment. So it is very complicated in terms of supply chain. As we saw earlier, there are a lot of multi-geographies involved as well. Now, then from a challenge perspective, we have kind of bundled into 3 boxes. Now, on the left-hand side is really about visibility, supply chain visibility. Over a long, complicated supply chain, it is, even for the largest corporates, it is a challenge for them to maintain the supply chain visibility. So now with ISSB coming with that announcement that they do want to include Scope 3 emissions, you can imagine that even for the largest corporates, this is going to be an increasing challenge, even with their massive amount of resources. I just had a conversation with one of the MNCs here yesterday, and they were saying that post-COVID, the challenge is not just, having and leveraging on the systems that they already have, but it's really rebuilding some of the factory level workers, communities that they have to become, to maintain, to become that responsible business. Because literally these communities are starting from scratch. And with climate change, with floods happening so often, as we hear and as we read about almost every day within Southeast Asia, for example, you see that is really an increasing challenge. So you can expect costs to rise just to keep up to the same standard of sustainability reporting and visibility. Next off is traceability, and this is about product level understanding. Okay, now we have read news about big brands getting to the wrong side of the law. That's really part of the reason is that the industry is going towards understanding what goes into the material of a product. Now, within the standard, the GRS standard, for example, and that's a global recycled standard. Now, within GRS standard, you must have at least 20% recycled composition, recycled content to be able to claim that standard. But at the retailing end, that means as shop front, customer facing, you must have 50% content. Then you can do that labeling. So you can see that there's actually a lot of nuances that goes behind it. And I do agree with the previous speaker that a lot is happening globally in terms of corporate reporting frameworks. A lot is happening even within the textile regulations, fashion industry regulations, to harmonize many of these challenges that companies are operating under today. And we hope that perhaps in three years' time, there will be a much more harmonized set of standards to come. But I think this availability of just having the product level traceability is an opportunity, particularly for brands. And this opens up the whole area that when we said supply chain sustainability, is it only for the big boys? No. When you actually can have digitalization with a product or a partner like ESGpedia, you can now open the product level traceability even to the mid-tier companies. Now, of course, besides GHG emissions, we are also, as an industry, we're also big in terms of the water impact, the social impact as well. So these are, again, a whole suite of metrics that we need to look at when we bring the members towards the pathway of sustainability. So credit to the work by PwC Singapore. So these are essentially a summary of all the drivers that push the industry towards green transformation. They're both a set of external drivers as well as internal drivers for the companies to move ahead. I think suffice to know that there's a great motivation of the industry to change. So if you look at the industry, you look at the companies today, and a year later, you'll find that it's going to be a very different shape. So what is our role as an industry association in terms of catalyzing the sustainability practices? So first off, we do recognize that for the state of the industry here, for those companies, fashion companies that are actually here in Singapore, they are either largely suppliers or brands. And suppliers, they could be material suppliers as well. They are some form of supplying, whether it's finished product or materials. And for them, there's a huge administrative workload in terms of reporting to their brands. So take, for example, a garment manufacturer, right? They could be under, the Walmart system of reporting. They could be under the Amazon system, of climate reporting as well. Or they could be under their own brands, the big brands reporting structure. So there's a lot of burden. I think one of the speakers showed that the Excel spreadsheet. That's exactly what we hear from our members. And they do not see that each of these systems are overlapping in somewhat. They are actually distinct reporting structures that they have to adhere, otherwise they lose the deal. And so therefore, digitalization, having a common platform makes so much sense, because now you can say that using the digital platform, you can more easily pivot to the requirements of different brands or different customers. Now then for brands, typically they are, I mean, besides the global brands, as we spoke about, you know, it is now, we're now able to open the opportunity for some of the mid-tier brands as well, those who have gone, you know, out of Singapore, like Love Bonito, you know, Benjamin Barker and the likes. So these are mid-tier brands which, you know, really help them at that scale to be able to prove their competitive edge, because they are now able to showcase their certifications and allow them to create that market access, to allow them to, for their overseas customers to be able to see and verify that they are able to qualify for the regulations within that country. So through that and through our ecosystem of partners, STACS, we also have 2 initial partners from the banking industry, DBS Bank and HSBC Bank, as a start. And also we are, you know, given the nature of the industry, also wrapping it around the B Corp and the B Lab certification, which is heavy on GRI. And also on social impact, to allow companies to be purpose-led and business of as a force for good. So through these ecosystem of partners, what we're really trying to do is that we wrap it around a framework, we provide some visibility, and that is like the goalpost for the members to get towards. So it makes the entire industry much more efficient in that way. And through that, we drive uptake of sustainability practices, and also through the reporting on that digital platform, we are now able to increase that transparency. And of course, alongside with that is that role of, you see the boxes at the bottom, is that role of educating the industry, educating the public at large as well. And conversely, we also see that as an opportunity to share the domain knowledge with the financial industry. So it's like a bit of exchange of understanding in a win-win way. Okay, so through the ESGpedia, you know, we have been able to incorporate you know, some of these different forms of data to be part of the ESGpedia. And we are also, you know, we have through B Corp list of assessment questions, we're able to, you know, do some form of risk assessment in terms of where they are, how they map to the SDGs and all that. Okay. And the synergies with ESGpedia is really, we are galvanizing the industry, moving them towards the framework of the certifications. So this is like the you know, the ambition, right, to drive the industry towards, so that each of the members, they do not have to do their whole set of homework to understand which are the standards that are important for the industry. And through that, we are moving them closer, one step closer to the financial you know, financial industry, and that when the time comes where they do need that, you know, to work with the financial industry, or even to the VCs for innovations and so on and so forth, they are at least one step closer to prove their capabilities. Okay, so with that, thank you very much for your time today. Thank you.